Welcome to True Crime and Wine Time. I'm Terry.
And I'm Llama.
Tonight, we are uncorking the truth behind one of the darkest crimes and breaking it down together with you.
One case, one conversation, and one or maybe two glasses of wine to take the edge off. It's time to get comfortable and double check those locks before we get started.
So let's take a sip and dive in.
Hello.
Hello, I've missed you.
I know. I've missed you too.
Last week, together every day, and then now,
I know.
nothing.
But this week, we're here again on a Tuesday.
We are here on a Tuesday.
So double the fun this week for True Crime and Wine Time.
It is, and I love the fact that you fell for me asking who your co-host was going to be, because
Sure.
I was trying to be mean, and you fell for it. And I was like,
I did.
oh, she's not happy.
Because I was like, she told me just the 17th. She said she was going to be back.
But what if I would have ran off with Luke Bryan and, and he offered for me to go play with him on his tour bus?
Well,
would you have forgiven me then?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, why
I'm
not?
here.
Why not? Once in a lifetime.
Yes.
Hello, Lady in Gray. Hello and welcome, Buffy Bot. Oh, look, what a pleasure. I know she's in this rabbit hole with us. Well, you guys, before we begin our part 3 of the Robert Hansen coverage, I want to remind you all, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't ever miss when we go live or drop an episode. You know what else, Terry? We broke 2,500 subscribers over the weekend.
Saw that. We were all chatting on Discord. Yay!
Yes. So thank you, everyone that's subscribed over our YouTube channel. You guys are amazing. Next goal, 3K.
Yes, we also hit 6,000 followers on our Facebook page.
Oh my gosh, we're just breaking records everywhere.
So,
let's go. I love that. Thank you, everybody, for doing that.
Yeah. And if you're listening to us on one of the podcast apps, please download, follow the podcast, leave us a rating and a review, because believe it or not, guys, that is how the math algorithm thingy works and how people find us. I don't understand it because I don't math, but that's how it works.
Me either, but apparently that's just how it is. Now, you guys, you can also become a member of our YouTube channel, which comes with all sorts of exclusive perks, including additional shows that are only for our members. So when you don't see us on this side, chances are we're over on the other side doing stuff. So, and the lowest tier is just 99 cents. So all you got to do is click that join button and pick which tier best suits you.
I mean, March, I look at our members only calendar for March. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in March. So there's a lot. So Llama, why don't you tell us what we will be covering tonight?
Oh, well, tonight is part 3 of our Frozen Fear, the Butcher Baker of Alaska series, where we are diving deep into infamous serial killer Robert Hansen, his endless number of victims who we refuse to let be forgotten, and how all of it could have been stopped numerous times. In my opinion, the state of Alaska has a lot of blood on their hands, and we're here to shine a light on all of it. Now, you're getting your warning now. There will be lots of Llama and Terry rants and cursey words, especially with this episode, but I think you all are going to be on the same boat as us.
And if it is not, we need to have a side conversation. We should have a side conversation.
Hi, Pam. Hi.
So,
what are you drinking?
I am drinking something that I'm going to regret later. I am having a glass of Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc. It used to be one of my favorites. It now gives me heartburn really bad. I've already had 2 or 3 sips and it's burning. So I'm only going to be having 1 glass, but then I also have a cherry limeade from Sun.
That's delicious. That's the way to go. Well, tonight I am drinking some tequila and orange juice.
Well, that's going to have
'Cause
heartburn.
yeah, definitely gonna have heartburn from that. But I remembered I wasn't gonna drink anything tonight.
I,
Then I remembered which part we were on. And I was like, ooh, girl, you're gonna need something to take the edge off.
that's why I had to put those little ice cubes in because I hadn't chilled anything because I wasn't going to drink tonight because I was at the rodeo last night and I had enough. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I went and checked. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm drinking tonight.
That's right. So if you're drinking with us, please keep the bottle right beside you. Okay. There's no point of putting it back in the fridge. You're going to be through it before you even know.
And if
So,
you're not, have snacks. You can also snack on them pretzels when you get irritated or Coca-Cola. Betty Ross, I hope your mouth is feeling better. I thought of you when my dentist called today to remind me that I have a checkup on my bridge next week.
ew.
And they're going to take the temporary bridge off, do x-rays, make sure the bone graft took, and then put the temporary back on. And I was like, that just sounds awful.
Thing of nightmares, Terry. Well, with that, let's forget about the dentist because it's not a dent. We
The
are not
dentist
covering
is
any
better
dent.
than this, okay? I'm trying to avoid what you've done to us tonight, okay? I do want to tell everybody, if you get upset with anybody tonight, besides Robert Hansen and Alaska Police, it goes that direction. Okay?
I think she's pointing to me.
I am. So we've seen the emergence of a pattern here. 3 women, all 18 years old, targeted in the dead of an Alaskan winter. Susan Hepburn escaped the barrel of a revolver. Beth Van Zanten didn't make it home. And Patty Roberts survived a 100-mile odyssey of shoelaces, sandwiches, and the cold reality of cabin number 4.
Mm.
Patty did the impossible, guys. She gave the police a name, a car, and a physical signature that linked Robert C. Hansen to the darkness.
Do you remember his weird little deformity? Now, the morning of December 27th, 1971, should have been the end of the line for Robert Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
Patty Roberts had spent the night in a forensic whirlwind, identifying her captor from the asshole books and detailing every second of her abduction. The troopers had his name. They had his address. They had the records from his previous assault on the real estate secretary just weeks prior. They have all of the things.
But they didn't know what to do with those things.
Ugh.
I don't know. I mean, do you know how many law enforcement officers are sitting there going, God, if we only had that?
Mm-hmm. I know. Like, unbelievable. I've seen them have less.
Yes. But as the sun struggled to rise over a frozen anchorage, the wheels of justice began to turn. Not with the speed of a lightning strike, but with the grinding hesitation of a system that couldn't believe its own ears. To the troopers, Hansen was a by-the-book suspect. To the community, he was the guy who baked the morning rolls. And to the courts, he was a man who deserved a second chance.
Ridiculous.
Which none of us agree.
No. Now, in this episode tonight, we're going to look at the moments where the system could have stopped a serial killer in his tracks and why instead it handed him the keys to a decade of slaughter. Because before Robert Hansen was the butcher baker of the 80s, he was the defendant of the 70s, and the courtroom was his first hunting ground.
Buckle up, babes, okay? In 1972, the Anchorage criminal justice system operated with a heavy thumb on the scales. There was an unspoken hierarchy of who was believable. And women like Patty, who moved through the 4th Avenue scene, were often at the bottom. But the sheer volume of trauma was becoming impossible to ignore. With Susan Hepburt's assault and Beth Van Zanten's body found in the snow, the troopers couldn't just brush Patty off. They needed cooperation. And they found it in the form of Michael S.
Now, I don't know if we mentioned this later on, but I just want to remind everyone that Patty Roberts, yes, is a sex worker, but her father is also an Alaskan state trooper. Just keep that in your mind for the next hour, okay? Now, Sergeant Hughes was a man who lived by the manual. When he sat down with Michael S., he saw a witness who was complicated. Michael was a veteran, but he was also a man deeply embedded in the Anchorage drug scene. In his own words, he was a social user of heroin, okay, a phrase that likely made the by-the-book Hughes raise an eyebrow or two. Also, that silhouette looks like it's the silhouette of Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh my gosh, it does. I'm like, oh, okay.
I love that. I love that.
But Michael's lifestyle didn't change the facts of what he saw. Okay. He provided the timeline that the troopers needed to pin Hansen down. He confirmed that Patty had borrowed his car, that she was sober and her normal self when she left at 1:30 in the morning. And most importantly, he described the absolute shell-shocked woman who returned 14 hours later.
He said that Patty was shaking and told him a story that was disjointed, which is the hallmark of a person suffering from acute trauma. Like, that's just generally how many people respond to. And considering she had been with him for like 11 hours, where do you even start telling that story? You know, like where? But she managed to tell him about the gun, the drive to Kenai, and the terrifying threat that she would be left in a pool of blood.
Whether Hansen had used those exact words or Patty was describing the visceral fear that he inspired, the message was clear. Guys, this was not a date gone wrong. This was an execution that had been negotiated away. Michael watched as Patty, still terrified, called her father from a drive-in on Gamble Street, and he was the bridge between Patty's ordeal and the official report.
Now, even as Michael S. was providing the police with exactly what they needed, Sergeant Hughes was fixated on the type of people involved. Ugh. Ugh.
Judgy there much?
Yes. He asked about the racial makeup of the Nevada Tavern. He asked about heroin use. He was basically looking for a reason to doubt the story before it even reached a judge because, of course, these aren't respectable people.
Yeah. But Michael wouldn't let him. Okay. He steered the conversation back to the blonde man in the Pontiac. He stood by Patty. In the eyes of the law, Michael S. might have been seen as a user or a drifter, but in the investigation of Robert Hansen, he was the essential witness who proved that Patty Roberts hadn't disappeared into a drug-induced haze. She had disappeared into the car of a predator. There was no doubt about that, guys.
Now, for the troopers, the stakes were now astronomical. Michael's testimony confirmed that Patty had been threatened with death. And because Beth Van Zanten had recently been found dead under similar circumstances, the pool of blood comment Hansen had told her was, I'm sorry, not Hansen, that Patty had told him wasn't just theatrical. It was a potential threat to her, like a real one. You know,
she wasn't just being a female with dramatics, guys.
No,
right?
It was not a sense of like hyperbole going on at all.
And if Michael S. was the witness who saw the beginning and the end, Robert G., the owner of the Sunrise Inn, was the witness who saw the middle. While Michael saw a disjointed victim, Robert G. saw a predator performing a role. And he saw the car that would lead the police directly to Abbott Road. I mean, how many more people you need?
Right. So Robert G. wasn't just a motel owner. He was a man who paid attention to the rhythm of his establishment. I mean, hands dirty, part of the business. Now, on the morning of December 19th, 1971, he was cleaning rooms when he was told to be quiet around cabin number 4. The story was already in place. You remember that? We talked about that in the last episode where they were a tired couple coming from Fairbanks.
Yeah. But when Robert G. actually saw the man emerge around 11:30 in the morning, his instincts kicked in. He saw a man who didn't look like a weary traveler. He saw a man who had lied about taking a shower. A shower we know Patty saw him fake by splashing water around. When Robert G. made a polite comment about the man still being tired, Hansen didn't skip a beat. He doubled down on the Homer business trip lie, maintaining the mask of a normal functioning citizen.
Mm-hmm. Now, Robert G.'s description of the girl coming out of the room was hauntingly accurate to Patty's reality. He noticed the unswept hair and the short leather coat, and most tellingly, he noted that he didn't see any dress at all. Patty was, in fact, wearing only her coat and boots because Hansen had forced her to strip.
Okay, I'm already getting mad. But it was a final detail that spoke volumes to Sergeant Hughes. There seemed to be a definitive coldness between them. And guys, that was the understatement of the century. There wasn't just coolness. There was a silent, vibrating terror of a woman whose hands had just been untied and who was being watched through a big window by a man with a .22 caliber automatic weapon.
Right? I don't think I would be able to pretend to be happy in his presence.
Yeah, no.
That's for sure.
That's not when you can fake it until you make it.
I know. Now, after the couple left, Robert G. entered the room and he found the physical proof of Patty's ordeal, both in the bathroom, where there was evidence of a bath or shower being taken, and there was definitive evidence of sexual intercourse, if you know what I mean. The owner of the Sunrise Inn had unknowingly documented basically the exact sequence of events Patty had reported. The timeline, the physical descriptions, and the fake alibi all converged together into one truth: that the man in the knit cap was a dangerous liar.
And Sergeant Hughes, Mr. Ever by the Book investigator, went straight for the paper trail. He pulled the registration card for cabin number 4. On it, the guest had written down a vehicle description: a Pontiac with the Alaska license plate number 47294.
Now, this next part, guys, this is where Hansen's calculated nature shows. All right. So when Hughes ran the number through the Department of Revenue, it came back to a red 1965 Ford owned by a man named Theodore Willett. That's not the car or the person, if you've been writing stuff down. Hansen hadn't just used a fake name. He had likely memorized a random license plate or fabricated one to lead investigators into a dead end. He was playing a game of forensic hide and seek, basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, can you blame him? He's confident that his respectable life would keep him safe, you know, while the police are busy chasing ghosts of red Fords and some guy named Theodore.
And guys, this all just shows you how much this was premeditated.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very
The
much so.
investigators then talked with Marty, the daughter of Robert G., who was owner of the Sunrise Inn. While Patty saw the gun and the monster, Marty saw the awkward, unkept man trying and failing to play the part of a normal traveler.
Yeah, Hansen's use of aliases was about as sloppy as his appearance. To Patty, he was Tom. To Marty, he was Roy. He was basically spinning a web of identities, probably picking basic ass names, just so they're not, they're
Hard to
pretty
remember.
common, right? But he was failing to keep the lying thread constant. I'll be Tom to you, and Ron, and Paul, and Jeremy, and my car is red and green and violet.
Yeah, he wasn't great, which you would think would mean he would get caught real quick.
Well, I mean, technically he does.
He does, but
He does.
Marty's description of him is clinical and devastating. She didn't see a respectable baker. She saw a man who was very, very unkept, with a pale face marked by the scars of old acne. This was the raw, unpolished version of Robert Hansen, the man who lived in the shadows of his own skin. He was slender, nervous, and significantly, he refused to make eye contact. Big red flag. He was a man who knew he was carrying a stolen life in his car, and he couldn't bear the gaze of a witness.
Now, Hansen's most telling move at the Sunrise Inn was his request for a room as far away from the office as possible. He framed it as a desire for quiet, so they could sleep. But we know the truth. He needed distance. He needed a place where Patty's potential screams or any struggle wouldn't reach the ears of the managements.
Marty also noted how unusual the timing was. Because, guys, it was mid-morning in the dead of winter. Not exactly peak check-in time for travelers.
Mm-mm.
I mean, why would you drive all night and then get some rest? I'm not even going to go there.
Right.
Not even. The Fairbanks to Homer lie was his only shield, a story he clung to like a life raft to explain his presence at such an odd hour, which, guys, I find even more alarming.
Yeah, because I think they check in at like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning or something.
Like it was early in the morning. It was before breakfast.
Yeah.
Why would you have driven all night?
Right. And if it's only a few more hours away, why wouldn't you who's going to pay for a room for just a couple of hours? But, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We are doing a super big deep dive into this story. Thank you for being with us today. Now, perhaps the biggest mistake Hansen made at the Sunrise Inn was picking up the pen. So Marty watched him struggle. Let me pull this up here. I think that's maybe it. I'm sorry. Marty watched him struggle with the registration card, noting that he was so nervous he started filling out the wrong section. Because Marty was by the book herself, she made him finish the correct portion, and in doing so, she secured a piece of evidence more permanent than a fake license plate. Hansen's own handwriting, which I bet is not great.
I'm going to say Marty is another hero.
Mm-hmm.
She trusted her instincts. Even if he used the name Roy, the loops of his letters and the slant of his script were as unique as a fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
In the days before digital databases, handwriting analysis was a cornerstone of criminal investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And by forcing him to fill out that card, Marty unknowingly handed Sergeant Hughes the rope that would eventually help hand the butcher baker right over.
Now, Marty didn't mention the stutter that Patty found so distinctive. And in fairness, though, Hansen was barely speaking. So he was a man with a singular goal: get the key, get to the cabin, and get Patty behind a locked door. I mean, what small conversation could you possibly start when you're in the act of kidnapping and assaulting somebody?
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that every word he spoke to Marty was a risk. So he kept his answers short and his head down. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
And I'm like, I found that suspicious. He thought he was being invisible. In reality, he was being unforgettable. To a motel clerk in the quiet of winter, a nervous, unkempt man with a pale, scarred face who doesn't want to talk, guys, that's going to be the most memorable person of the day.
Right.
It's like, put a sign here. Hey, it's me.
Right. Notice me. I mean, it sounded like it could have been a busy like motel or inn when it's in between two, it's like what? They get like maybe 10, 20 people a day. Okay. Now, on December 28th, well, before I go into this, so that was how many witnesses? 1, 2, 3. I also know that there's 2 more, but I didn't include them because they didn't really say anything different. But technically, there's like total of like 5 witnesses.
More than enough. Let's just say that.
Right. More than enough. If they were worried about, the fact that Patty was a sex worker, therefore making her not, respectable.
But Robert G. is a respectable business owner as well.
Exactly. Everything matching up to exactly what she said. I mean, this could not be more slam dunk. All right. So now on December 28th, 1971, yes.
I'm sorry. Death by booby account?
Yeah.
I'm going to need some information about that name, that screen name. Okay.
I love that too.
I mean, I love it. I just am like,
it's not a bad way to go, I suppose. Anyway, back to the story. Don't get distracted by boobies, Terry.
Okay, anything is better than Robert Hansen.
That's true. Fair point. Now, on December 28th, 1971, the state of Alaska stopped treating Robert Hansen as a meek baker and started treating him as a high priority suspect. While Patty was safe at her father's house, the troopers arrived at the Hansen residence on Abbott Road with 2 pieces of paper: a warrant for his arrest and a warrant to seize his vehicle.
And guess who entered the chat when it comes to investigating death by boobies?
Savage.
Savage is in the room. Hello, Savage.
You guys
so guys, fun fact. Okay. The arrest warrant described Hansen's occupation as a Coke decorator
down there at the bottom. You see that?
Instead of a cake decorator.
I love it.
But despite the clerical errors, the objection was achieved. At 4:30 p.m., the 1967 Pontiac Le Mans was towed to the police garage, and Hansen was in custody. And you guys think we're about to just wrap up and be done?
You think we should be. Also, just the mistake of putting his job as Coke decorator is hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Because he sure didn't appreciate it, I bet.
No.
That guy.
But look at the title of the case. I found that interesting.
ADW rape. What is
just AD-rape, not kidnapping, assault. I mean, there was more than just that.
Well, ADW is assault with a deadly weapon.
But kidnapping.
But kidnapping is not on here. That is correct.
It's like he kidnapped her. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's when they were living at Thomas Circle. Let me go back and correct. We said Abbott Road. It's Thomas Circle. Sorry. I have a lot to keep track of through these years for this story. So let's just go ahead and fix what we just said about Abbott Road and change it to Thomas Circle. Okay.
Thomas Circle.
Now, Lab Tech Suave began a methodical search of the vehicle. Yes, Lab Tech Suave is their last name. It took me a couple of times to be like, what are they trying to say? And then I was
Could it
like,
be
oh,
Lab Tech Suave? Could he be
maybe
Suave, the
Suave.
lab tech guy?
Right now, to a casual observer, the car looked moderately clean. But to a forensic technician, it was a roadmap of the previous 48 hours.
Patty had told the police that Hansen didn't smoke, but that he had bought her Marlboros, and she also detailed being forced into the back seat while her hands were bound. The search began uncovering items that acted as a physical echo of Patty's testimony.
The ashtrays, or the ashtray, was full of coins and clean of ash, confirming Hansen's non-smoking habit. But in the left rear ashtray, investigators found a Marlboro cigarette butt like the ones that Patty smoked. They found a folding knife, which was discovered in the glove box, and a heavy-duty buck hunting knife was found in the trunk. On the front floorboard lay a Hershey bar wrapper, corroborating the popping candy stop Hansen made on the drive back to Anchorage. And lastly, there was also a brown army blanket, the very one Patty described using to stay warm in the sub-zero temperatures. He didn't clean nothing out.
He didn't.
Mm-mm.
Every
He's not confident.
Yeah, he's a little cocky. Every item pulled from the car served as a silent witness. Patty Roberts had been telling the truth about every detour, every purchase, and every threat. However, as the investigation moved from the car to the man himself, the troopers were about to find that Robert Hansen had one more tool in his toolkit, one more dangerous than any buck knife. He had a way of presenting himself to the world that made people want to believe his lies over a victim's truth.
Yes. And we're about to get into his police interview, which is kind of like a masterclass of psychological manipulation. All right. Robert Hansen wasn't just being slippery, he was testing the boundaries of the investigators' biases. I mean, his whole career, I don't like calling it a career, but I don't know what else to
I mean,
call
he was a coke
it.
decorator.
Is all about playing into people's biases. That's
Mhm.
why this went on for so long. So he understood, though, that in 1971, the word of a working girl who used dope heroin was worth far less than the word of a family man and business owner.
I'm sorry, not when they've got the receipts, sir. But anyway, but the most dramatic moment of the interrogation was not a confession. It was a physical mistake. While trying to prove his innocence by showing his handwriting, Hansen dumped his wallet on the table. Among the contents was a triangular scrap of paper. Written on it in his own hand was the name of the one person who could destroy him. Thomas S. Roberts, Patty's father.
Yeah, right? Just more. Now, when confronted with the name of the man he had just threatened hours before, Hansen's amnesia began to dissolve. He couldn't explain how that piece of paper got there, but the presence of that paper proved Patty's story. He had gone through her purse, he had looked for her family, and he had intended to terrorize her into silence. I mean, I don't even know. To find that piece of paper in there.
I'm like, how else could there is no plausible explanation, in my opinion.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just chilling to think about, like, Had
Mhm.
this at this moment this not been stopped,
Mhm.
how would it have proceeded from there? You
Right.
know, would he have made threats to them or
Yeah.
what? Why keep it?
Because he
Mm,
was cocky. But once the physical evidence made a total denial impossible, Hansen switched tactics. He began a calculated character assassination of Patty Roberts. Of course, he did.
of course.
By labeling her a prostitute and a dope user, he was telling the detectives, she isn't a victim. She was just a transaction.
Gross.
Excuse the fuck out of me, sir. Sorry.
Right? Just gross. He claimed that she asked for $75, a specific number meant to make his story sound grounded in reality. He claimed her arms were sore and she wanted drugs. And this was a direct strike at her credibility and really playing into the social stigmas of the era, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's fine, all of this, blah, blah, blah. Now, when he mentioned her wrists and arms were sore, he was admitting he saw the marks left by his leather suit shoelaces, but he reframed them as injuries from a fight she had been in before he met her. So this is a little bit Laura Owens ish, if you ask me. Like, oh, yeah, but they're not from me.
Yeah.
I
No.
had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. When he was asked about the gun, he admitted to owning a Colt Woodsman 22 caliber, the exact type used in the Van Zanten murder and the Heppard assault. He knew he had said too much, but he also knew he had planted enough seed of doubt about Patty's character to potentially sway a jury.
I mean, maybe. Now, the interview ended the moment Hansen realized he was trapped. After a 20-minute break and a Coke, not that kind, the actual soda kind, the Meek Baker persona returned. He stopped talking and demanded his attorney, as he should have done from the beginning, to be quite frank, but whatever, who also happened to be his doctor.
I,
Mhm. Yes, his lawyer is also
as
his
doctor.
doctor.
Okay.
I didn't even know that could be like a thing, but it's a weird story, you guys. We got Coke decorators, doctor
Yeah.
lawyers.
I mean, it is Alaska.
Now, he actually was being booked into jail on $100,000 bond, but he wasn't defeated about it because he was already calculating his next move. Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, that's right. He's going for an insanity defense because, of course, he is.
Of course he is. Now,
Still down, right?
remember that little piece of paper that had the name of Patty's parents and child that Hansen threatened he would kill if she said anything to anyone about what he did to her? The
Mm.
troopers knew the weight of it. Sergeant Gilmore and the assistant district attorney had a lively debate over it when he was initially arrested in December. Do they grab it now or do they wait for a warrant?
Well, they chose the by the book route to protect the evidence from being thrown out in court, as one does. They followed the Fourth Amendment to a T, securing the wallet in a plastic bag and placing it in the hands of the jailers. But they forgot one variable, that the Meek Baker was a cunning master manipulator. So far, somebody trying to do something right.
Yeah. The booking area of a jail is a place of organized chaos. You have Officer Jordan, the new guy trying to follow procedure, and Officer Dancer, the veteran who thought he's seen it all. Hansen had waited for the break point when Jordan turned his back to inventory the cash. Hansen, the world class archer with precision hands, snatched the note.
Now, when Dancer, not a reindeer, shook him down and found the crumpled paper in Hansen's back pocket, Hansen didn't panic. Nope, nope, nope. He actually started to lean into his meek Bob persona. Oh, I'm just Bob. I'm meh. He told Dancer the paper held the name of the man who was going to help him with bail, Thomas Roberts. The audacity of this guy. It's like, well,
I will say he thinks kind of fast on his feet.
Right?
Because I would have never have thought of that.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant, dark irony. He was using the name of the man he threatened to kill as the name of his supposed savior.
Mm-hmm.
Dancer, either through exhaustion or a lack of communication from the troopers, bought it. He did. He handed the original evidence back to the predator. His hand was like,
gosh.
"Hey, sir, I'm glad he's going to help you."
Dancer. Oh boy. By the time the search warrant arrived the next morning, the note was gone. Hansen had likely destroyed it or flushed it or hidden it where it would never be found. And the troopers were left with a report from two guards who had realized too late that they'd been played by a Coke decorator with a stutter.
I mean, somebody got written up, right?
There's so many. Just in the last 24 hours, they've got his job wrong. They didn't secure this paper. They gave it back to him. Like, what is happening?
Officers tried. The original officers tried. They did the right thing because they did. They tried. Hansen's IQ may have been average, but his sneaky intelligence was off the charts. He understood the rhythm of authority better than authority understood him. Excuse me. He had pulled a fast one on the state of Alaska, and in doing so, he removed the most direct link between his business trip to Kenai and the premeditated terror he inflicted on Patty Roberts. That's a huge deal.
That is a very huge deal. It may have just been a tiny piece of paper, but that would have really helped with a jury. Like, oh, there's no reason you should have that. Now, Hansen stood before Judge Hal R. Horton. These people in the story have like the best names. Just 2 days after Patty Roberts had escaped from his car. On paper, the situation looked dire for the baker. He was being charged with a few violent felonies while already waiting trial for another Susan Hepburne's case.
I think we jumped ahead.
Did we?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
I'm like going, wait a minute. This is not, I don't think.
It wasn't even.
It's okay.
I'm just so pumped up. I'm already worked up over here. Like, get ready for this shit. No, sorry. Okay. So back to where we were talking. Hansen's father had sold his bakery in Iowa because he was so humiliated by his son's lies. Now in Anchorage, the state jail was feeling the same sting. Yeah, you guys were made kind of fools of, very much so. The meek baker had successfully navigated a strip search, a booking, and a fingerprinting session while holding a piece of paper that proved he was a kidnapper. And he didn't just hide the truth. He made the truth just disappear like a magician.
Yeah. Now Hansen stood before Judge Hal R. Horton just 2 days after Patty Roberts had escaped his car. On paper, the situation looked dire for the baker. He was being charged with a few violent felonies while already awaiting trial for another.
Mm-hmm.
But in the room, the atmosphere was much different.
Yeah. 2 days, by the way, for timeline purposes, 2 days after Patty goes to the police, which is 2 days after they find Beth Van Zanten's body. So in just 4 or 5 days is what we're talking about here. Now, Hansen's attorney, Jim Gilmore, that guy, was a skilled navigator of the local legal system. Also, apparently his doctor. I don't know if that is the doctor man, but I'm going to go with it is. I couldn't find anything to verify. Now, he presented Hansen as a family man, a local business owner, and a stable member of the community. I mean, he was the baker, and the court treated him as such. I mean, he's just a nice guy, guys.
Just a baker.
Wait, again, these are violent
I know.
felonies we're talking about.
Why they're giving this man the benefit of the doubt is just, I don't understand. I get he's innocent until proven guilty, but he doesn't look good. While Judge Horton set bail at $50,000, it was essentially a symbolic number.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the way the hearings were scheduled and delayed, Hansen remained free on his own recognizance.
That's right. Second crime, second time. Own recognizance for both Susan Heppard and Patty Robb. Like, what? How? Why?
Yeah.
Why? That's crazy to me. Look at what he did the last time you put him.
I know, and now it's just, yeah. The bail hearing that should have been the moment, he was locked away for the safety of the public, which pushed into the new year.
Well, think of the holidays.
I know the court, I mean, it was bogged down. There was holidays. There was some stuff going on in the administration, but it all became Hansen's greatest friend.
Right? Now, by allowing the bail hearing to slide into 1972, the court gave Hansen time to breathe, time to talk to his lawyers, and more time to refine his meek Bob persona. More dangerously, it sent a message to Hansen that the system wants to believe you are a good man. That's what other message is there to take from that?
They're basically saying because you have an extra body part dangling between your legs, we want to believe you're a better person.
Mm.
He realized that even when caught red-handed, he could slither away as long as his victims were women the court deemed less valuable than his reputation. Okay, deep breath, Terry. While Patty Roberts lived in fear that he would follow through on the threats he had written in his wallet, Hansen was back at the Safeway, decorating cakes and waiting for the calendar to turn. Think of all the people who were buying his cakes he decorated and they didn't know.
Or how, hold on, let me finish this part. We'll get into that before we move into 1972. Now, as 1971 came to a close, Robert Hansen was a man who had been caught, interrogated, and unmasked. And yet, he was sleeping in his own bed. He had been given a reprieve he didn't deserve at all, and he would use every second of it to prepare for the legal battle of his life. Now, imagine how fucking terrified Patty Roberts has to be.
Oh my God, yes.
And her father, you guys remember, she is a state trooper's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And they are just like, it's fine. You can go. We think you'll behave, even though you didn't listen to us the first time.
Yeah.
Could you?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh.
That is how people take vigilante into their own hands and seek their own justice, is because of stupid shit like that.
Right?
I'm sorry. So Hansen's defense strategy was simple. Bury the accusations of a working girl under the testimony of an upstanding citizen. At his bail hearing, the courtroom became a theater of the absurd. It's absurd that he...
Now, Pastor Abramson from Darla's church stood up to vouch for Hansen's soul. Okay. Then his hunting buddy, John Sumrall, does that name sound familiar? Because I'm pretty sure we heard that same name at the first episode with Cindy Paulson over 10 years later. Now, His hunting buddy, John Sumrall, the insurance executive, spoke of his reliability. And there was Gerald G., who added another layer to the Meek Baker persona. Look at people coming out of the woodwork already for this guy. That is absolutely true, my criminy. This is why victims are afraid to come forward. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I can't even. I can't.
I mean, I am so thankful that Patty's dad was in law enforcement and could give her and her child some protection. And hopefully his fellow officers helped out too.
I mean, in how many ways can the court just tell you they don't give a shit?
They're doing a good job. They're doing a very good job. They were successful on that part.
A trooper's own daughter, and you're just like, it's fine. Just go. That means they don't give a shit about you normal people.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there if you need clarification. Okay.
I agree, lady, agree. You cannot vouch for their soul. You can't.
Agreed. Okay. So facing them all, though, was Patty Roberts. She was there, sworn in, and testifying to the reality of the gun, the shoelaces, and the threats. And for a moment, it seemed she had won. And by all means, should have. Should have.
But what makes this period truly chilling, guys, is that Hansen wasn't just facing the Patty Roberts charges. He was also simultaneously being prosecuted for assault with a dangerous weapon in the Susan Hepburn case.
Mm-hmm. Now, any one of these charges should have seen him behind bars. Collectively, they painted a very obvious picture of a serial predator. I mean, I don't know what more you need. Yet, in an era before digital tracking and with a court system that prioritized the word of a business owner, Hansen remained free on his own recognizance. That's right, you guys. Again, he walked out of the courthouse every day, returning to the very same streets where his victims lived.
Mm-hmm. Basically, the court system allowed him to re-victimize his victims every day by doing that. The fact that Hansen never posted a dime in bail is the ultimate indictment of the system in 1972. It was a clear signal to Hansen that his mask was working perfectly. The law saw a baker with a stutter, while Patty saw a killer in a knit cap. And I see the same person, Patty.
Not a single dime. Not or a single, debt. Literally nothing.
Didn't put his house up, nothing. Was still going to work every day.
His doctor lawyer must be amazing. That's all I have to say. Maybe we need to get ourselves doctor lawyers.
That's a whole lot of ego.
Just kidding. You don't do any shit.
Sorry. That's a whole lot of ego.
Oh, I asked Elbow Feet to refill my drink. Oh boy, that was a very strong amount of tequila.
Oh, okay.
I'm fired up. Now, Robert Hansen's team knew that the physical evidence, the car, the cigarette butts, the positive IDs were insurmountable. Their only path to freedom, or at least a lighter sentence, was to convince the court that Hansen wasn't a monster, but a patient. To do this, they turned to the most powerful man in Alaskan psychiatry, Dr. J. Ray Langdon. I mean, they got to try something as their lawyers. I know we all hate it. So that's their job. But this is also bullshit.
It's bullshit. By 1972, Dr. Langdon wasn't just a doctor. He was an institution, which that right there already gives me a problem with you, sir. Mm-hmm. Having served as the medical director of the infamous Morningside Hospital in Oregon, where Alaska's insane had been exiled for decades. He understood the intersection of mental health in state power better than anyone. But did he?
Lady in Gray, Dr. Lewis
Dr. Lewis
wasn't
wasn't available. Nope, not available.
Now, when Langdon opened his clinic in 1960, he provided the Alaskan legal system with something it desperately needed: a local expert. I mean, listen, if you're the only one around, yeah, they're going to call you, but like, I don't like the fact that there's only one expert available because that leaves a lot to be desired. Now, for a defense attorney like Jim Gilmore, Langdon was the golden ticket. He had a reputation for finding the nuances in a defendant's psyche that could turn a cold-blooded predator into a maladjusted victim of his compulsions. Now, before we go further, I just want to preface, I am very big into psychology and all mental health and all of that.
Mhm.
But during this period of time, specifically, if you read your histories,
It
is a mess. All right. A lot of charlatans, a lot of people didn't know zippy zap about nothing. Okay. Lobotomies were a thing.
And there was a
So-
woman who got a lobotomy because she had PMS. She was bitchy that time of the month.
Yeah. It was
Well,
a
maybe
very
she-
wild time and
Yes.
not a good
Mm-mm.
part of American history. It's very
No.
disturbing. If you do not know how things worked in the early mid 19th or 21st century, 20th century, how do centuries work? That's right, 20th century. It'll terrify you.
It will terrify you.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys,
Yes.
just buckle up even more, okay? On December 15th, 4 days before the Patty Roberts abduction, but during the investigation into the Susan Hepburn assault, Gilmore already had Hansen's appointment with Dr. Langdon scheduled.
Also, I feel this is obviously, I'm not a doctor, but based on what we do know about Robert Hansen and his like being able to put on different personas, especially the meek one, he seems like he has a lot of malignant behaviors, right? That's where you're basically like, oh, kind of faking things,
Yeah.
you know? And I feel like he was probably very good
Oh, I
at
think he
that.
was good at it.
Now, the defense wasn't denying that Hansen had an imbalance. Instead, they leaned into it. Hansen paid for the evaluation himself, a move that allowed the defense to control the narrative before a court-appointed doctor could step in. It's a good defense tactic, I'm not
That's
going to
right.
lie.
That's-
It's a good.
Yeah, but it's not like Alaska is so far away you couldn't have brought somebody in from Seattle, Washington, people.
It's pretty far away in the 70s, though, Terry.
I'm sorry, there was boats and
There's
planes
like a whole ass Canada in between the way or something.
from
Is it?
Seattle over to Alaska.
I mean, yeah, isn't Canada in between the two? No, I don't know. Either way, you're right,
Okay.
though. Either way, you're right. Get somebody else in.
Brought
Right?
somebody else in.
Now,
Yeah.
their goal was also to establish a history of seeking help. In the eyes of a judge, a man who is actively seeing a psychiatrist looks like a man who wants to change rather than a man who wants to kill or a man who wants to stay out of jail.
A 6'8". Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being a member for 19
Aw.
months.
Happy memberversary,
Happy
Amos.
memberversary.
19 months. Oh my gosh.
If the man who ran Morningside said Robert Hansen was just a confused baker, who was a local judge to argue?
I mean, well, this still tracks to this day, quite frankly.
This was a launching pad for the infantile personality diagnosis that would eventually save Hansen from a decades-long prison sentence. Hansen had already perfected his meek baker mask for his neighbors. Now, with Dr. Langdon's help, he was crafting a scientific mask for the courtroom. He was learning how to be better at being bad, basically.
Absolutely. Oh, look at that, Lady in Gray. Another memberversary for 19 months. You and Amy are in for a tie. battle. Just kidding. Now, I don't really think that but I do think he has an infantile kind of personality problem, sure. But this imbalance, I mean, I guess maybe something in his brain is off to be able to do all these horrific things. But even still to this day, those are things that we don't even know how to remotely fix.
Right. And he was premeditated about it.
Mm-hmm.
He gets some kind of joy.
He
We don't
gets
know how to fix
solved.
it. He's bad. We don't know how to fix what's wrong with him.
Yeah. And clearly, again, this is not somebody that has like a psychotic break, right? Where they have no control over what's happening in that moment of time. This man premeditated the shit out of everything. All right. So there was the fact they were even allowed to present an insanity defense, but it was the 70s. That was a different time, different precedents, different requirements. So, but I'm going to go with this kind of thing is what really started putting some limits on the ability to present an insanity defense. But I don't know. I'm just here. I'm just a podcaster.
You're just a podcaster.
He was a pleb and an incel. Yes. Agreed. They didn't have those terms then, but Now, Dr. Langdon didn't just diagnose Hansen. He provided a backstory that made his violence seem almost inevitable. He painted a picture of a man stunted by adolescent rejection, whose harmless fantasies were supposedly a pressure valve for his social failures. I don't know if I would call these harmless.
I'm like,
congratulations, Terry True Crime, on your memberversary. Thanks for being a member for a year on your own YouTube channel.
That's because I changed accounts. But anyway, Langdon threw a flurry of clinical terms at the court, creating a fog of psychiatric jargon that suggested Hansen was a fractured man rather than a determined criminal. He said that Hansen suffered from kleptomania to explain away his history of theft, that he had a thought disorder that suggested he wasn't fully in control of his logic, and that he had bouts of disassociation and hysteria, claiming that he would enter psychotic episodes where he wasn't aware of his actions.
Bullshit. Like the bullshit button, please. Bullshit.
Sounds like when your child gets caught red-handed with their hand in the cookie jar and you're describing it away.
Yeah, no, I mean, he does have a history of kleptomania, but I have my theories about that as well. By the way, I forgot to put up this picture of Dr. J. Ray Landon. What an unfortunate, unflattering photo of him.
That tie's not great either.
It's not. Now, Dr. Langston's clincher was a bit of a double-edged sword. He admitted Hansen was very difficult to treat successfully, not wrong. Yet he suggested that his personality could be modified enough to prevent future crimes. No. It was basically the scientific loophole Hansen needed, though, to trade a prison cell for a clinic one.
When the case finally moved before Judge Fitzgerald, the proceedings were marked by a shocking lack of preparation from the prosecution. Assistant DA L. Eugene Williams admitted in open court that he hadn't even read the psychiatric report. What?
It's crazy.
This pause allowed defense attorney Jim Gilmore to basically take complete control of the room. How in the hell did the judge not say, you what? Do you need a few minutes?
Right. Now, just remember, this is not the bail hearing, Judge. This is a different.
I know, but
just reminding everyone, though, that this is a different one. But yeah, that's not great. That's not great. Now, but anyway, Gilmore immediately conceded that Hansen was competent to stand trial. This was a tactical retreat. Okay, so if Hansen were incompetent, he'd be locked in a hospital indefinitely. But by being competent, he could negotiate for a lighter sentence. And it was a good power play. The prosecution's not prepared, so we don't need to play that game, basically.
Alaska, you just keep screwing up. Just gonna
Mhm.
say. Gilmore also put the state on notice that he might use an insanity defense. This, too, was a classic high stakes bluff designed to force the DA into a plea deal rather than risk a not guilty by reason of insanity verdict. I
Mhm.
mean, the defense attorney's not doing a bad job.
No, Dr. Lawyer Man is one hell of a defense attorney. I'm just
He's
saying.
not doing a bad job.
Now, he also dropped a very heavy hint that both Patty Roberts and Susan Hepburn cases could be resolved before trial. He is basically dangling the carrot of a quick, clean, guilty plea to avoid the mess of two back-to-back trials involving the insanity defense. And they were in a quite a good position to negotiate if
They
the
were.
defense hadn't, or if the state hadn't even read his report yet.
Yeah. But while the doctors and lawyers were debating, one man saw through the
Or
mask,
doctor lawyers.
or doctors, lawyers, yeah. Hansen's parole officer, the man who actually had to track his movements, he didn't need a medical degree to see the danger. He made a note that Bob Hansen was capable of committing rape at any time.
His parole
His
officer. Like, I don't know how many red flags there needs to be put in front of the state here. All right. But this is what happens sometimes. It is probably this is definitely one of the most chilling what if moments in this entire case that we're covering. The man on the front lines identified the exact threat, but his voice was drowned out by a world renowned psychiatrist and a well funded defense attorney. The system preferred the complex lie of episodic schizophrenia over the simple truth of a man who simply enjoyed hunting women. Okay? He was not schizophrenic. Okay? I'm
he
not a
was
doctor,
not.
but I know that
He
there's no way. There's
he
no
got
way.
joy and thrill out of what he did. He liked it.
Mhm.
Jim Gilmore knew that by the March 20th trial date, the clock would be ticking. He had successfully muddied the waters. Robert Hansen was no longer just the man who abducted Patty Roberts, was now Exhibit 1, a clinical puzzle that needed to be managed rather than a criminal who needed to be stopped.
They give
No.
so many shits about people's respectability here.
Wait,
Because apparently being a doctor is like top of the top around here, more believable than literally everybody else around. But okay.
yeah.
All right, you guys, if your glass is getting towards empty, I suggest pouring it now. Okay. Now, the plea bargain offered to Hansen was a devastating blow to the concept of public safety. By 1972, Alaska was leaning heavily on plea bargaining to clear its crowded dockets. For the district attorney's office, Hansen was a low-hanging fruit, a man willing to plead guilty to avoid a trial that would expose his dark fantasies to the world, which this kind of stuff happens all of the time. But
The deal was that Hansen would plead guilty to assault with a dangerous weapon for the Susan Hepburn case. In exchange for this single plea, the state of Alaska would completely dismiss the charges of kidnapping, rape, and the assault involving Patty Roberts.
yep, yep. You heard that correctly, guys. You heard it correctly. The 100-mile terrifying odyssey The shoelaces and the
It just went
trauma
away.
of cabin number 4 were wiped from Hansen's permanent criminal record. It became, as the record shows, a mere asterisk. That's it. That's all she's
That's
worth,
it.
you guys.
Can you oh my God. The dismissal of the Roberts case wasn't just a legal maneuver. It was a cultural one. Assistant DA Justin Ripley and the court faced a harsh reality in 1972. A jury was unlikely to convict a respectable baker on the testimony of a woman identified as a prostitute and heroin user. And guys, not much has changed on that.
Not much has changed, but I also don't believe them.
I don't either.
Because, as you'll see in a different episode, some people use their brains. And again, this was a slam dunk case. Like, the only thing you're missing is having it like on film. Like, they have literally everything.
And you had another respectable businessman who filled in the whole middle part of the store. I mean, they didn't want to see him. They did not want to.
No. Now, the system engaged in a form of grim triage, basically. They used the cleaner case, the more respectable case of Susan Hepburn, the real estate secretary, to secure a conviction while discarding the messy Patty Roberts case. They traded the pursuit of full justice for the certainty of a shorter, easier sentence. Oh, look at you, Savage. Happy memberversary. 6 months. Therapist says, I'm vengeful. We'll see about that. I love it. I hope I'm always on your good side.
Can you imagine how Patty Roberts felt?
Her dad is an Alaskan state trooper, you guys.
I can only imagine what her dad said, but can you imagine her? You gave everything. She did everything right. And she still got told she wasn't worth it.
And I'm sorry, hers wasn't the messier of the case. Just because she was a sex worker, that's the cleanest fucking case I've probably almost ever heard. Yeah. You literally have everything.
They had everything. By March 24th, the deal was done. Robert Hansen had successfully navigated the most dangerous period of his criminal career. He had been caught red-handed twice in 1 month, and yet he managed to talk his way out of a life sentence. I didn't do it.
He hadn't just beaten the charges. He had been validated by a plea deal that suggested his crimes weren't that serious. I mean, he was going to be headed to prison, yes, but he was headed there with the knowledge that the law was a game. And by all means, turns out he was a master player of it. Just unbelievable.
I mean, I want to know why they didn't go after him for one of the more serious charges. Why you chose that one to plea. I just don't get me started. Hansen stood in front of the judge and withdrew his not guilty plea, officially checking the box the state needed to close the file. In exchange, the court moved towards a sentence that was a slap in the face to Patty Roberts and Susan Hepburn.
Susan as well. I mean, by all means, I'm so happy Susan got justice. I mean, because if she had not screamed for help, her story would have been the same as Patty's, or maybe even ended up like Beth Van
And what about Beth?
Well, don't worry. We'll have a whole one for that. Now, Judge James Fitzgerald, Judge Fitzgerald, was no amateur. He looked Robert Hansen in the eye and stripped away the legal jargon, stating flatly, I believe you are guilty. But he didn't just mean the Hepburn case. He acknowledged the reality of the Patty Roberts abduction, too. So there's that.
But he could have denied the plea deal, right? But anyway,
Oh, different times.
I know. Assistant DA Ripley admitted in court that Hansen was a danger. Given the problems demonstrated by the defendant, close custody is required, he told the judge. The state recommended a sentence of 8 years with 5 years suspended. So Hansen would only need to spend 3 years behind bars.
Unbelievable. Now, but with time off for good behavior and the possibility of a halfway house, a man who had admitted to multiple violent assaults with a deadly weapon was looking at less than 2 years behind bars. Now, the system recognized he was a predator, yet it handed him a sentence usually reserved for like high-end theft or things like that. 2 years.
People get more than that for marijuana in Texas. We got people serving a life sentence because they had a joint, and this guy just walked away, basically. The central question wasn't just how long he would serve, but how he would serve it. The defense was pushing for work release eligibility.
It does get worse, guys. It gets a lot worse.
I can't. Their argument was that Hansen had a business to run and a family to support.
Oh, look at
Because
him.
remember, he's a cake decorator at
A Coke
Safeway.
decorator.
He doesn't own a medical device facility or anything. He decorates cakes. Okay, sorry. They plan to unleash their small parade of respectable citizens who stood up to testify that the man who abducted women at gunpoint was, in their eyes, just a hardworking baker and a friend.
I don't even understand how you stand up for this fucking guy.
I wouldn't. I would have been like, yeah, I am not. I think they need to investigate those people.
Like maybe at the bail hearing, right? Because you don't know, right? Somebody's presumed innocent.
Now that you did
But
that,
now they're pleading guilty at this point of trying to kidnap somebody with a gun. A random 18-year-old girl when he's a grown-ass man. And you're just like, well, it just happened. I don't know. He's not going to do it again. It's fine.
hoping that the judge is pressured to grant a sentence that allows him to remain part of the community. He should be.
Even though he's already terrorized 2 members of that community. Cool. That we know of. Now, Dr. Langdon's testimony was something to be desired. All right. He reached back into Hansen's past to the 1961 bus barn arson in Iowa. You remember that from last episode? He used this to establish a 10-year history of imbalance. But Langdon was careful. He didn't want to label Hansen insane, which would have meant long-term hospitalization. So he called it a social disorder instead. Isn't that cute?
So the doctor now manipulated the system.
Well, yeah, when you get paid like that, you're the only expert witness for the whole area to say anything, I believe. I don't know much about Dr. Langdon's career, but I'm pretty sure if I looked into it, I would not be impressed.
Langdon cited a bizarre incident from Hansen's military service as proof of his thought disorder. Hansen had reportedly walked onto an Army firing range during live practice. To the doctor, this was evidence of a man who lacked a sense of self-preservation or a grasp of reality. Maybe he's just a dumbass.
Right? And also, who's your source? Hansen? You can't believe anything this fucking guy says. Are you serious? What? There better have been some document. I love how Amy is like, you would not be amused about looking up the doctor because she went down that rabbit hole.
God,
every night, Amos messages me, I hate you.
Oh,
I'm in a rabbit hole and it's all your fault.
I am going to say you have disrupted so much of my life this year. because of
You're
rabbit holes
welcome.
and TV shows. But I love you for it sometimes.
Thank you. Sorry, it's train time, everybody. Okay, so he diagnosed Hansen with a schizophrenic condition with compulsive actions and recommended that Hansen have close supervision for what Langdon considered a long time, which was apparently 2 to 3 years. Okay, and that the treatment for such was psychiatric sessions twice a week. What?
So,
In case you guys thought this guy was credible.
so
What?
here's what I want to know. Being someone who had to go to therapy after an assault,
Don't you dare, Savage.
I can tell you those women need more than 2 sessions a week for 2 to 3 years, sir.
Yeah.
This man is not treatable.
No. It's not even up for debate. Even if you want to say that, now by today's standards, he'd probably have something like antisocial personality disorder or something like that. Guess what?
But he's also just bad.
Yeah.
Some people just...
He's also just a fuckface.
Yes. While the doctor provided the medical excuse, Hansen's friends provided the social shield. Yeah, they suck too.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys. And these weren't character witnesses from the fringe of society. These were people who defined the respectable anchorage that Hansen so desperately wanted to inhabit.
Yes, and I made sure to name drop all these people because some of them you're going to hear numerous times, and I have theories about them as well.
As I said, they all need to be investigated.
Okay, so first up was Gerald Goldschmidt, who represented the outdoorsman bond that is so central to Alaskan identity. Okay, he spoke of church, hunting, and fishing. To him, Bob wasn't a kidnapper because, he's a dude. And he was just more of a camping buddy who had hit a rough patch. His recommendation was to let him work and get therapy in the community. So you're like, you know what? He's just on rough times. To try to kidnap a girl with a gun?
Why don't you let him live with your daughter and wife if you have one?
Like, it was just a rough patch. We all have them. So, because that's basically what they're saying. Well, I could see myself in Bob. He's safe to be around. I trust him around my teen daughters to not kidnap them with a gun and try to assault them.
Yeah. Now, if Goldschmidt was the friend, John Summerall was the heavy hitter. As the district manager for Equitable Life Insurance, Summerall brought a level of corporate and social prestige, because reputation's important, guys. Mm-hmm. That was almost impossible for a judge to ignore. Summerall's testimony was, I think he should be permitted to return to the community.
Now, by 1972, John Summerall wasn't just a character witness. He was a recurring figure in Hansen's life, a man who consistently used his own social capital to bail out a monster. He was his alibi numerous times. You will see. We've already mentioned a few times. There will be more. And I have many suspicions about this guy in particular. I really, really do.
I
have a whole theory about it towards the end of our series.
Yeah. So the tragedy of this hearing is that the community Robert Hansen's friends wanted him to return to was the same community where he hunted. By advocating for his work release and return, they were inadvertently providing him with the mobility he needed to find his next victim.
Because it didn't matter that he was out on his own recognizance for shit.
Why don't they just go get the women and line them up for him? Why don't they just go get them and say, here you go, Robert. You're so respectable. Let me just give you one. It'll be easier.
It's crazy. It's funny. Now, Judge Fitzgerald was caught between the visceral reality of the crimes and the polished testimony of the city's elite. The butcher baker was being forged not by his own dark urges, but instead by the hands of people who refused to believe a man like them could be a monster. Mm, 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 mm.
Judge James Fitzgerald, a man of profound intellect and future Supreme Court justice, stood on a precipice. He stared into the void that was Robert Hansen and for a fleeting moment saw the tragedy that was coming. Yet, he placed his faith in a system, psychotherapy, and parole. That was the utterly that was utterly unprepared for a man like Hansen.
Yes, the transcript from the sentencing shows Judge Fitzgerald as a vocal, searching, and deeply concerned about this whole ordeal. Hansen, meanwhile, offers no defense, no apology, and no explanation. He simply says, "Yes, sir." That's it. Now, Fitzgerald's words, though, were both a condemnation and a little bit of a lifeline.
He explicitly called Hansen extremely dangerous and noted that his condition arose from a period of disassociation. He recommended work release and parole eligibility, believing that as long as Hansen was under close supervision, the community would be safe.
I can't believe
Sir.
it. Now, the tragedy of the 1972 sentencing rests on three words: may be treatable. Fitzgerald was a rational man who believed in the power of modern medicine. He genuinely thought that if you forced a man into a room with a psychiatrist, the monsters could be illuminated and exorcised. And listen, I'm not going to fault him here for that.
He listened to the doctor.
Big in the times, okay? There is a lot of new things happening in the world of mental health and psychiatry, which a lot we know now is garbage. But at the time, you would probably consider Fitzgerald to be a bit of a forward thinker, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we are today, some judges are with defendants who come in front of them. He was trying and honestly praying that this is the way to go, but I feel like he has his reservations still.
I think he had his reservations, but Judge Fitzgerald's final words to Assistant DA Ripley are haunted by foresight. If he's not treated, I really feel that would be a tragedy. He might perform a very serious act. The tragedy wasn't that the judge didn't see the danger. The tragedy was that he believed the danger would be compelled to go away.
Yeah, so in March of 1972, Judge Fitzgerald looked at Robert Hansen and saw a man who could be saved by science. He saw a baker who had lost his way in a diffused state of mind. He prescribed therapy like one prescribes a cast for a broken leg, hoping that in 2 or 3 years, the bone would be straight again. But Robert Hansen wasn't broken. He was malformed. There was no changing who he was.
So he is.
Mm-mm.
He took the judge's mercy and used it as a blueprint. He learned that treatment was the price of admission for freedom. He learned that if he nodded at the doctors and worked hard at the bakery, the state would eventually look away.
Mm-hmm. And so the gavel fell. Robert Hansen was sentenced, but the baker had won. He was headed to a facility, but with the promise of work release and a path back to the bakery, the voices of Susan Heppard and Patty Roberts were drowned out by the prestigious titles of insurance managers and clinical jargon of world-class doctors. Bye-bye, truth.
Yeah, Robert Hansen wasn't going away. He was just going to school. In prison in the halfway house, he would learn exactly what the system's weaknesses were. He would learn that if he kept his church attendance high and his insurance friends close, he could do whatever he wanted in the dark. Oh my God.
That's right. As Hansen was led away to serve his 5 years, a clock began to tick for the women of Anchorage. The tragedy Fitzgerald feared wasn't a possibility, it was a certainty. Because the man leaving that courtroom wasn't a cured patient. He was a hunter who had just learned exactly how to bypass the gates of the law.
APD detective Ron Rice, who investigated the Hepburn case, knew they had missed an opportunity. After all, it took another decade for Robert Hansen to face serial murder charges.
A decade, guys.
A decade. Rice let Butcher Baker co author Walter Gilmore know exactly how that felt. The early 70s weren't just a missed opportunity, he said. They were a squandered opportunity. They fucked up.
Yeah. Quote, I told the DA at the time that we should go balls to the wall on the Patty Roberts thing. It was a strong case. She was an excellent witness. And we put together a pretty good list of witnesses who'd seen them. We had people all the way down the Kenai who'd seen them. You'll remember that I went to my boss telling him that we should go for it. I even went to you and ended up writing a report on the damn case, trying to get people to listen. The DA just gave me the cold shoulder. He was more interested in making deals with Hansen's attorney. And I'll tell you one goddamn thing, Walt, he said, his voice rising in anger. We taught Hansen to kill. When we didn't put him away for a long time, we taught him to kill. We not only taught him to kill, we taught him who to kill. Way back in 1972, we told him it's all right to kill whores because nobody gives a shit about whores. He ain't wrong.
He ain't wrong.
He ain't
But
wrong.
it's so hard to hear.
Mm-hmm.
By mid-1972, Hansen was already moving towards the exit. The court had recommended work release, and the system obliged with shocking speed. Within 6 months of a 5-year sentence, Hansen was out of a cell and into a halfway house.
You guys heard that correctly. 6 months.
6 months.
Then he was in a halfway house.
Yeah.
6
For a
months.
while, the cocoon of control seemed to work. His wife, Darla, was his driver. He was a willing worker. He was attending weekly therapy with Dr. Alan Parker. On paper, Robert Hansen was the success story the Langdon Clinic had promised. Dr. Parker even noted that the sexual issues within the Hansen marriage, the supposed predisposition for his crimes, were being resolved. But the cocoon had a hole in it.
Yeah, Dr. Alan Parker's report to the parole board is a haunting document of professional blindness. After only 6 months of therapy, Parker made several definitive claims that would prove catastrophic. Regarding Hansen's behavior, he said, quote, I do not anticipate that he will display any deviant behavior if he were paroled. He cited, that's his picture. That way you guys can all know what this jerkwagon looks like. He cited that Hansen demonstrated capacity to handle freedom and his financial responsibility. Dr. Parker gave the parole board the green light because he believed that the meek Baker was ready. In 6 months, guys, 6 months prison and a psychiatrist cured you of this bullshit. Get out of here. What a joke.
The moment the system trusted Hansen to drive himself to work was the moment the butcher baker returned to the hunt. In his 1984 confession, Hansen admitted that the therapy was a sham.
Hmm.
While his doctor saw progress, Hansen was experiencing a tremendous sexual blow up charge.
Quote, I drive uptown in a hurry and sit there and just look at the prostitutes. I think the first night they allowed me to drive back and forth myself, the very first night I was uptown parking there just to watch. Oh, look at the changed, reformed, meek little baker boy. That's right. Predator who learned nothing except how to be better.
He learned how to be better. While he was supposed to be at the bakery or at the halfway house, Hansen was at the 4th Avenue Strip, reliving the excitement of the kidnapping at the Sunrise Inn. The jail time hadn't deterred him, it had focused him. He wasn't just waiting to get out, guys. He was anticipating his next chance to do it again.
Mm-hmm. 9 months. This is the time it takes to bring a life into the world. And in 1972, it was also the amount of time the state of Alaska decided was sufficient to cure a man who kidnapped and raped women at gunpoint. That's it.
That's it, 9 months. No shock therapy, no lobotomy, just 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Hansen didn't break out of prison. He was escorted out the front door by the very experts who were supposed to protect us. He had sat in his therapy session and fed doctors exactly what they wanted to hear. Stories on marital improvement and resolved issues, while his heart was racing at the thought of the girls on 4th Avenue. Oh my
Just
God.
disgusting.
It's just disgusting.
Now, when the parole board signed those papers in December 1972, they weren't just releasing a baker. They were releasing a hunter who had just learned that the law was easily fooled. He had a clean slate, a polished reputation, and a sexual blow-up charge that was about to scream for satisfaction. Sadly, the tragedy Judge Fitzgerald feared was no longer a shadow on the horizon. It was standing on a street corner in Anchorage, watching, waiting, and choosing its first victim, or additional victims, depending what you want to believe.
Almost immediately after his release, the cycle began again. Outside a movie theater in the heart of Anchorage, Hansen spotted a young girl. To the world, he was a success story of the Langdon Clinic. To this girl, he was a nightmare with the handgun.
He used the exact same kit that had worked before. A gun pulled in the close quarters of his car, the signature binding of her hands in a dark drive down the old seaward highway towards the isolated spaces he knew so well. He repeated the same threat he had leveled at Patty Roberts. Do what I want or you die.
This encounter, however, didn't end in a pool of blood. The girl, trembling and bound, told him that she was only 16 years old. She told him it was her first time and that she was starving.
And in a rare moment of what Hansen likely perceived as mercy, something in his fractured psyche clicked. He didn't see her as a wild one or a prostitute who needed to be punished. He saw her as something else, perhaps a reminder of his own perceived innocence, or perhaps she simply didn't provide the sexual blow-up charge he craved from the women on 4th Avenue. And he ended up driving her back, and he let her go.
Thank God. But this wasn't the sign of a cured man. It was a sign of a predator who was refining his taste. He had just successfully kidnapped another human being within days of his parole.
To the shock of no one, except for the Anchorage DA and the court and all of those people, his friends.
And he had done it without a single soul in the justice system knowing. Robert Hansen had tested the fences of his freedom. And guess what, guys? He found out they were non existent.
Mm-hmm.
That girl got so lucky.
That she did. Now, as we close this chapter, the tragedy is no longer a what if, it's a when. Hansen had learned that the authorities were blind to his movements. He had learned that he could kidnap a girl in the middle of town and literally nothing would happen to him. He had learned that as long as he kept his job and his church-going mask, the wilderness was his to command. The meek baker was gone, and the butcher had arrived.
Next time on True Crime and Wine Times Frozen Fear, the Butcher Baker of Alaska series, where we enter the dark heart of the 1970s, better known as the silent decade of Robert Hansen. While the law marks him as a success story of rehabilitation, the wilderness begins to hold on to secrets that should have stayed buried.
That's right. We will return to the winter of 1971 to revisit the case that many argue defined the darkness to come, the disappearance and death of Celia Beth Van Zanten. Remember everything we told you about tonight. And then let's talk about Beth. She was only 18. Oh, what? The same age as Susan and Patty Roberts? What? Well loved and vanished from the safety of an Anchorage street. Could it be where a predator's signature first began to emerge in the frozen mud of McHugh Creek? I think so.
Mm-hmm. Guys, we're going to look at the evidence the police found, the leads that they may have missed, and the chilling similarities that suggest the Butcher Baker didn't start in the 1980s. Was he already there, hidden in the fog of 1971? Join us for part 4, The Silent Decade, 1971, the unsolved case of Celia Beth Van Zanten.
Wow. All right. What closing thoughts do you have, Terry? Because this episode is baffling.
I don't know
anybody who's been in true crime. Like,
I don't know if I love you, I hate you, or I respect you.
It's fine. It can be all of them.
Because you wanted to do what Alaska didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Do the right thing for the victims. And we are just freaking starting.
Yes.
And calling them out on what they did, because I have to tell you, and I'm not going to cry. How in the hell did they think this man was cured in 9 months? How in the hell none of it can make sense to me.
Mm-mm.
In today's time, I would be like, who got paid off? I would be like, what money exchanged hands? How did they do such an injustice to Patty and to Susan? All of them. The DA is just as guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you were not prepared.
No.
I think the judge was really hoping. I mean, I don't blame Judge Fitzgerald. He
gave him time.
He did
not think the parole board was going to parole him as quickly as they did. I do believe that.
I don't think he should have gotten work release. I don't think he should have gotten work release. So, like I said, he got away with it, guys. And the fact that we are getting ready to go through much more, and it covers a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what he did in just a matter of a month or two.
A month and a half. A month and a half.
Guys, just let that sit for a minute. What he did in a month and a half.
And I believe there's more. I believe there's a lot more.
Oh, I think there's more.
And we're going to be talking about all of that for sure. Because listen, if you thought, oh my gosh, they couldn't have bungled more than they did. Oh, they do. Oh, they do, everybody.
There's still more.
It does not get, there is no going uphill at this point. It is all just how does this keep happening? All right. So again, I know we say this all the time, buckle up, but you guys, that's just
a tip of the iceberg.
End of 71 and 72.
It's like the appetizer, people.
It really is. And I did tell Terry too. I was like, listen, girl, we have to make this multi-parts. We have to talk about every single one of the victims and what happened to them and their story, whether they were murdered or they were survivors or anything, because what the state of Alaska did to all of these women is disgusting and unacceptable. And I feel like this part of Hansen's story, well, I know it doesn't get talked about. It doesn't get talked about in the documentaries.
No, I knew this case.
And
I was like, great, let's cover this case. And then when you started going, no, we need to cover this. And I was like, how is this not out there?
Mm-hmm.
How have I listened to other podcasts and seen stuff and all of this isn't out there? Somebody just swept their little dirty secrets. Somebody didn't want to take their time to read through all of the information like you.
Agreed. Well, I'm crazy. This is what happens.
Let me call Dr. Langdon's clinic and let me see if I can get you an appointment there. They can cure you.
Oh, man. Well, my closing thoughts for the show before we close up, as we look back at the winter of 1972, it is very easy to point fingers at the names on the legal documents, the judges, the doctors, the guards. I mean, we had a lot of unsavory characters this episode. All right. And it's easy to call them fools from this safe distance of 50 years like we are. Okay. But the truth is more uncomfortable than that, though. The system didn't just fail because it was lazy. It failed because it was human. Judge Fitzgerald, Dr. Langdon, and the small parade of character witnesses all shared a common blind spot. They couldn't conceive of a monster that looked exactly like a neighbor. And this is something that runs all through true crime. Everybody's like, no way. He was just my quiet neighbor. I didn't see it coming.
That's how it keeps happening, people.
Went to church and taught kids volleyball or whatever. They saw a man with a stutter, which makes him look weak and feeble, even though that means zippy zap about your actual physical strength.
No, it doesn't.
They saw a man with a wife, a man who decorated cakes and went hunting with insurance executives. Just again, that John Summerall connect. I can't wait to talk about this guy. Okay, because their friendship confuses me.
As I say, it confuses me, and that's why I really think they might share a lot of.
I have some theories. But they looked at the baker and decided that his violence was a glitch, a temporary disassociation that could be smoothed over with a few months of therapy and a steady job. But while the state was busy trying to cure Robert Hansen, Hansen was busy studying the state. He learned that the Fourth Amendment could be a shield for his secrets. Remember that little piece of paper? Right in the mouth like that. He learned that a prostitute's word was less than a family man's reputation. I don't know how he couldn't have taken that lesson away from what happened.
How could he not?
And most dangerously, he learned that the system's mercy was a door he could open whenever he liked, provided, though, that he spoke the right words and kept his head down. Now, the tragedy of the Patty Roberts case isn't just what happened in cabin number 4. It's what happened in the courtroom afterwards. Because if you want my opinion, she was assaulted
She was.
by the court.
Mhm.
That's what they did.
Absolutely.
It was the moment we decided that respectability was a substitute for accountability. When Hansen drove that 16-year-old girl back to town in late 72, it wasn't a victory for his rehabilitation. No. It was a predator realizing he had been given the keys to the city. He had tested the lock and it had turned. He knew now that he could snatch a life, drive it down the old Seaward Highway, and return to his bakery in time for the morning rush. And no one would ever suspect the man behind the counter. The Meek Bob persona was no longer just a personality. It was his invisibility cloak. And as 1972 came to a close, the shadows over the Kenai were growing longer. The tragedy Judge Fitzgerald feared was no longer a warning. It was a heartbeat. And the hunt was no longer a dissociative episode. It was Robert Hansen's lifestyle. And that wraps up part 3.
I wish we could lie to you guys and tell you it was going to get better, but I can't, so I'm not. But before we go, if you like what you've heard tonight, we know it was hard. Please be sure to follow all of our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free, guys. It's totally free.
It's
And if you're listening to our pod, please download, give us a rating. All of this helps us tremendously in getting our channel out there and helps us keep doing what we do.
That's true. And we'll be back with part 4 of our Frozen Fear, the Butcher Baker of Alaskan series, The Silent Decade 1971, Unsolved Celia Beth Van Santen case, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet on our YouTube channel, do it and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when we go live or drop an episode. And I don't have this written here, but if you love Marvel, this has nothing to do with true crime or Robert Hansen. It's just another one of my favorite things to talk about is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Please join our Discord server as we are starting our road to Doomsday by watching Iron Man this week. So if you're a Marvel nerd like I am, come talk true crime and Marvel over in the courtyard, our Discord server.
You are such an adorable little nerd.
I am.
You are such an adorable little nerd, but Iron Man's good.
I mean, listen, like it's on my level of Phantoms. It in Game of Thrones, A Song of Fire Ice, like they're right there. I'm just saying.
Okay. Oh man. I need a shower. I feel dirty after listening and doing this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to know, and I know we're going to get to the accountability that should have been put on everybody later is just everybody failed except for our one or two little good guys. But I mean, the people who stood up and gave this man witness it. I mean, no,
Unbelievable.
I can't. I can't. Anyway, but so everybody stay safe. Do not automatically assume that your neighbor, especially not your baker, that they are a good person just because they decorate pretty cakes or they make great croissants. Okay?
That's true. No.
Do not believe that. Okay? And if you see something, say something. And no shame.
Even if the court shuts you down, say it anyway because we'll report your truth, okay?
We will. Send it to us. And if you have to have an extra little bit of drink tonight, it's okay.
It's okay. We've all earned it after this.
Yeah.
We've all earned it. Well, thank you all for being with us tonight. We'll see you all again on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Stay safe. And until next time, everybody, go forth and be amazing. All right. Bye.